Hola, ¿qué tal? Soy Dani Mantilla y esto es Kinótico en el Festival de San Sebastián, donde cada día estamos hablando con talento nacional e internacional, siempre en colaboración con Fair Film Radio. Hoy estamos con el equipo de Ex-Husbands, una película americana protagonizada por Griffin Dune. Welcome, Griffin.
Gracias.
Y Noah Pritzker. Welcome to San Sebastián. Is this your first time here in the festival?
It is very much. It's the most beautiful city I've been in a very long time, and I've always known about the San Sebastian Film Festival, and I just am thrilled to be here.
You directed your first film like 7-8 years ago.
Yep.
How was prepping this one? Because you said in the press conference that you wrote it a while ago. Yeah. How was finding the money for the film?
It took a long time, and then there was a pandemic, and then it came together. Out of the pandemic, I think everyone was just excited to go get out of their apartments, and the idea of a project that would shoot on location outside of New York City. I mean, we were a week in New York City, but there was all of a sudden a new enthusiasm, I think, to just go make work, to travel together. And between my wonderful producers Alexandra Beyer and Bruce Cohen and Griffin and Nico, everyone kind of just came together and figured out how to go do it.
Griffin, I have to say I have loved watching you playing Uncle Nicky last years, but this is an amazing role, a huge lead one. Yeah. How was finding this man, Peter? And what did you like about him?
Well, it just sort of, one, I was thrilled to be at this point in my life, having, started off as a struggling young actor and then becoming number one on the call sheet, and then being a supporting player, and now at my age to be number one on the call sheet with such a complicated, funny, touching character. I related to him. I've certainly been divorced, and I'm a father, and I had a lot of life to draw from, but I also had these wonderful Miles and James as my children. It just felt effortless to play this part.
Vamos a ver un avance del superviviente de Auschwitz y volvemos en 20 segundos con el equipo de Ex-Husbands.
Nadie sabe cómo lo consiguió. La chica que dejé en mi país no sabe que estoy vivo. Quiero convertirte en una atracción. ¡Traidor! Necesito ganar.
No puedes, pero puedes sobrevivir.
¿Merece la pena luchar por ella?
I want to ask you, because I love how it talks the film about new masculinities and the families from a really honest but healing point of view. How was doing that as an actor, also as a director and writer?
Yeah, I was, writing from a place of, when you're writing a script, you're not writing for anyone else. So it wasn't so much a desire to it was really just what I was going through, what I was feeling. And I think in what I ended up sharing with Griffin and the rest of the cast, I think people related to that it was something that maybe they hadn't seen before, and were excited to get to relate to children and fathers and grandparents in this way that was a little more tender and open, but still had this tension to it. It's not, I think what I'm proud of in the film is that there is still a tension and a difficulty between the characters, but there's also an enormous amount of love there. And I think, usually it gets pushed in one direction or the other, where people are either embattled or bitter or, getting along. And I think what's happening here is they're kind of constantly experiencing all of those feelings.
And I had seen these themes before. The problem is I haven't seen them in a recent movie in 40 years. These were the movies that particularly foreign movies of Truffaut and Chabrol, and that just dealt with heartache and complication, and men and women, and men in free fall. Those are the movies I love. So it's so refreshing. I don't think I don't think a story like this has been told in a very long time, and often by foreign filmmakers. This has a very fresh take on humanity.
I wanted to ask you guys about the strike, because finally it seems like the studios are ready to talk to the writers and the actors. How are you living it as directors, actors, writers as well?
Yeah, I think I've been focused on I've been really finishing this movie to come exhibit it, but other projects that I was working on as a writer are just have been completely on hold until a a fair deal is reached. A lot of my friends work in film, and a lot of them are hurting because they rely on their jobs, and they're, like James and Griffin said in there, are making a huge sacrifice because they've been treated unfairly.
And you, Griffin?
It's affected me in a number of ways because I'm also a producer, and I had 2 movies, 2 series rather, as a producer, that we had just hired the writers, and now and one of them is a friend of mine, and we're all abiding by it to such an extent that we deliberately do not talk about the project. Well, it's just been put on hold. We'll wait till the negotiations end. So when we're talking socially, we just keep it social, but we're dying to get back to work, and they are talking, and my fingers are crossed that we'll all be able to. But it's just hurt so many actors, particularly more journeyman actors, who live paycheck to paycheck by series to episode to episode, and it trickles down to every industry, to the catering and to all the different department heads, and then the florist who supplied the flowers for the production designer. It just is it's crippling, which is the point, so that we can get what we want.
I'm sorry, but I don't have any more time. But congrats for the movie, people. The press conference was very long, so that's good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Seguimos aquí en Kinótico.es, la primera con K, la segunda con C, y dentro de poco más entrevistas. Gracias.